Okay, we're here at Thornton Abbey, well, the gatehouse of Thornton Abbey, in Lincolnshire. Nobody else here. I suppose Freedom Day's tomorrow, you know. It's done 191 miles since its rebuild, and that bodge in the last video done about 10 miles and it's still holding, so I'm quite hopeful for going out to out further later on. Right. Well, today I'm going to answer a question, which is what you see cheap Sportsters. You don't see cheap anything else by Harley-Davidson, I'm telling you. A lot of time they're Ironheads, but latterly you're starting to see some evolutions, which are the later ones, 85 on. Ironheads are 57 up to 85. Everything from 85 onwards is an evolution. Although apparently there's a third generation out this year. I don't know what it's called, but I saw them on the Shade Tree Surgeon. So the Sportster lives. Unfortunately, I think as of this year, if you're in Europe or the UK, Sportsters will not be imported anymore. There will be no more new Sportsters of whatever variety because of our environmental regulations, which is, I personally think, a good thing. So what should you expect if you buy a cheap Harley? By cheap, I'm talking anything up to 3,000 quid here in the UK. As I've seen some various American channels, you can pick up a running Evolution for $2,000 in America, but this just doesn't seem to be possible over here. This was the cheapest Sportster, the cheapest Harley on eBay. It was 2,200 quid. They'd already dropped the price. It had a Suzuki front end, very non-standard. Makes insuring it a little bit expensive. You know, they initially quoted me about 100 quid, and it was close to 300 by the time I started telling them what was non-standard on it. So bear in mind, if you're buying an old one, the more non-standard kit on it, the more your insurance is going to cost. Now, if you're 53 like me, it's not going to break the bank, but you might want to think about that if you're 20. The other thing is you are going to have to spend some money. I did it in 2 stages. I bought it in September 19. I got it on the road April 2020, just as it became eligible for not paying tax, because if they're 40 years old or over in the UK, you do not pay tax, and you don't have to put it through an MOT. So that's the first thing. The more standard it is, the less it's going to cost you in insurance. This is very non-standard. It's basically the frame and the engine. What's the next thing to look at? If possible, get one with a kickstart. Electric start only is all fine and dandy until you need to turn the engine when you're working on it, and it's true, you will have to work on these. Even once it's all fixed, you will still have to work on it. Turning the engine means getting it on a ramp, putting it in gear and twisting the back wheel, or putting it in gear and rocking it to and fro. Neither are ideal. A kickstart would be absolutely amazing. You can get conversion kits, or you can just collect up the bits. There's a blanking behind the clutch, there's a blanking thing in the gearbox, and you undo that, and that is where your new kickstart shaft goes through. I think it's roughly 300 quid, either a kit or getting the bits together on eBay. Of course that'll make an XLH non-standard. Roughly speaking, XLHs don't have kickstarts, XLCHs do, and that's how you tell. People like XLCHs more because they're higher compression, just sportier basically. This was, in its day, the most basic thing you could buy and still call it Harley-Davidson. Just totally mispronounced that. The other thing is, however much you spent on it, so if you spent £2,500 on it, you're probably going to have to spend close to that to get it running. Not everybody will be unlucky as I was. My crankshaft was snapped. It still ran. 9 months it ran before it started making so much horrible trip hammer noise that I had to investigate. I thought it was just out of balance. I mean, you say to somebody my Ironhead vibrates and the entire internet goes, oh, they all do that. And I thought, well, I've had BSA twins and this is worse. So you are going to have to spend money. You're going to have to buy parts. I'd say 40% of this has been replaced. Looks hardly different to when I got it, aside from the handlebars. But 40% of that has probably been replaced. Stands me at about £4,000, which is roughly what one's worth. The other thing is, if you've had metric bikes or cars, you are going to have to buy new tools. You're going to have to buy new spanners, you're going to have to buy new sockets. You're going to have to buy new Allen keys. You're going to have to buy new everything. There is a lot on these things that is metric. Here and there are parts that Harley have never bothered making, like the carburetors, the speedometers. Most of these things are Japanese, and there will be metric bolts and nuts here and there, but a lot of it will be what we call imperial, and what the Americans call, not imperial, they call it something else, I forget what. SAE, that's what they call it. Society of Automotive Engineers, I think. And once you've spent all that money on it and got it back on the road and everything's legal, because you do have to fill out forms to get it tax-free, that's not automatic. MOT, automatic. You just never have to have one again. But you do have to fill out the forms. And you have to wait until the 1st of April after when it was first registered. So mine was registered in 2019, but I had to wait until the 1st of April 2020. Other than that, even when it's finished, it will leak. It's got a vertically split crankcase, so it's going to leak. Everything with a vertically split crankcase leaks. And to the best of my knowledge, unless I think of something else later, that is pretty much what you need to know when you get an old Harley. Cheery bye.